Live with the community, this is the Microsoft 365 Development Biweekly Community Call. This is March 3rd, 2022. My name is David Warner with Catapult and PnP team member, and I will be your host today. We have a fantastic call in store for everyone. We're going to get the latest on PnP Framework and Core SDK extension, PnP PowerShell, Yo Teams, Microsoft Graph Toolkit, Team samples, Power Platform samples, script samples, and then, of course, what time will it be after that? Together mode time. We all enjoy seeing everyone in the community. We have 5 amazing presenters today with 3 demos. Natalie, Marco, and Mario will cover updates on the independent publisher connectors and the LibreBor connector demo. Then Dennis will show us how to migrate Cloud Flows using Flow and Apps Migrator, and Zhao will finish it up with creating a to-do list for Microsoft Lists and SharePoint using view formatting. So we look forward to all of those demos today by our rock stars. You may be asking, how can I participate in the community? I'm glad you asked, David. Well, the answer is we would absolutely love for you to participate in the community, and we have a number of ways for you to do that. You can participate on a call, community call, and we've got a link there for you to be able to do that with. You just submit your information, and we can get you into a demo spot. That means that you would have a demo solution or a technical pattern to show off. So we absolutely enjoy you contributing those as well. You don't have to present, but we would absolutely love for you to share it with the community. You can contribute on GitHub, and of course, we always appreciate feedback. We're always looking for positive feedback, but we do love constructive feedback as well, as long as it's positive. So are things working? Are there areas of improvement you'd like to see? What are some things that you are enjoying in the community? We love to hear the feedback from the community, so please don't hesitate to reach out at all. As we review the available resources within the community, let's look at our Pageo links. So we've got 2 different distinct video opportunities. The first is the Microsoft 365 developer videos, and the second is the community videos. One is largely driven and created and curated by Microsoft, and the other are the community videos such as this. So as things get created by those in the community, they will live there in the community video YouTube location. We have a number of open source initiatives around SharePoint, Office Dev, Microsoft Graph, PnP. We have got so many sample galleries. We're almost up to over 1,000, in fact, including team samples, web parts, Power Platform samples, extensions, list formatting, ACEs, script samples, so many. Ooh, you may say that is a lot of links to keep track of, David. But don't worry, only one that you have to remember, aka.ms/M365PnP will give you access to all of these amazing resources. Now, one of those and the newest resource that's available is script samples. So let's hand it over to Paul Bullock to tell us more.
Hey, thank you, David. So Script Samples is a place to host your PowerShell scripts or Bash scripts if you want to share those with the community. So this is where Script Samples fits in, providing you a space where you can share those scripts with everybody. So we're not limited to a specific tool, but the ones that we do support are Microsoft Graph, CLI for 365, PnP PowerShell, SPA Management Shell, Power Apps Management Shell, CLI as well. And all of these are integrated in the solution sample gallery that's located on adoption.microsoft.com. So they're surfaced not only on the portal that you see on the screen there, but also in that repository as well. We've got some new scenarios and some new examples coming through here. We've had some great contributions from the community, which I'm absolutely thrilled by. So we got Chandani Prajapati, who's provided new and updated samples. Casper Larsen, Reshmi Aklu, Tuan Van Beers, Leon Amston have also submitted some really cool samples there, as you can see on screen. So thank you very much for your contributions there. We're also providing a badge as well for those that do contribute. So by all means, when you do contribute, you will start receiving some of those. So thank you very much for your contributions. If you need any support with any submissions, feel free to reach out to me. Over to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. And again, excited about those badges. We'll talk more about those in a moment. Now, as you see all of our available resources that are available to you in the community, whether you'd like to use them or contribute back to them, we welcome you. We are an open source inclusive global community, and we absolutely want you to get more involved. But we understand there may be times when certain things provide hurdles for you. You may not be comfortable or familiar with GitHub, or maybe it's your first time presenting and you're not quite comfortable to do it live in front of the studio audience. We want to help you with that, and the Sharing is Caring program is here to do just that. They are hands-on live sessions that are safe space opportunities for you to get more involved with members of the community and members of the Patterns and Practices team. We will walk you through hands-on in a session on how to perform like your first GitHub pull request, how to set up your workstation, do more with VS Code. We will set up a buddy system if you'd like to present. We can present along with you. So a number of opportunities. We also have our popular AMAs, the next of which is next week on PnP.js. We are celebrating 3.0, which was just released. So take advantage of meeting with Patrick and Julie for that. Ask questions, bring ideas, all kinds of stuff that's available to you to be able to collaborate. And next week is also our Power Platform samples, first-time contributors. Really cool techniques in that if you would like to get more involved. Now, once you get involved, we want to celebrate all the amazing work that you're doing. So the PnP recognition program is here to provide that recognition in a formal and official way. We are powered with Credly. That is the same Credly that handles all of the Microsoft certification badges, and we are covering the cost for you. There is absolutely zero cost. We just need you to opt in, but these will be associated to your LinkedIn profile. They will allow you to share them on Twitter, your website, other social platforms. And as you can see, we've got some new badges that are just releasing Power Platform samples, community content author for those community docs authors. Sharing is caring. We've got blogs, we've got script samples, and we've got independent publisher connector badges. So we absolutely welcome everyone to please register for this, because we do absolutely want to celebrate and recognize all the amazing work that you're doing. We also have our platform call, the Microsoft 365 platform call. This is going to take place on the 8th of March. This is every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Now, what is different about the platform call, you may ask? This is a Microsoft platform call, which means that every presenter is going to be coming directly from Microsoft, providing you the closest information you can get to the bleeding edge of technology. So on Tuesday, we've got Yi and Vesa going to show how to manage Viva connections and SharePoint Framework solutions using the new app site in SharePoint Online. Wajid is going to cover building a bot for Microsoft Teams, which detects user presence changes using Microsoft Graph. And then we've got the ongoing series with our favorite Sebastian Levert on how to build Microsoft Graph Toolkit, this time with Angular. So lots of opportunities for you to interface with those that are directly at Microsoft, showing the latest and greatest. Next up is the PnP.NET libraries. The first is PnP Framework. So we've hit 391,000 downloads and are prepping for 1.9.0. Coming weeks, we're going to see PR merging improvements and bug fixing. And on Core SDK, 560,000 downloads, and we're prepping for 1.6. So again, in the coming weeks, focusing on craftsmanship and admin library and transformation framework. Next up is PnP PowerShell. 1.90 has a release with many updates and fixes, 1.6 million downloads in totality. And get this, 100 million commandlets executed in all time? No, per day. 100 million commandlets executed per day. That is simply amazing. So it shows the value and the use of this particular platform and initiative. Release 1.10 is imminent, potentially next week. I was talking with Irvin earlier today, and I know he's working on that. So we're excited for that release, and we see that V2 is in progress. So definitely take advantage of using these technologies that are available to you. Next up is Yo Teams, and so we'll hand it over to Victor.
Thank you. Let's see here. So I don't have any big updates today, more than we're actually celebrating 5 years today. So it was 5 years ago that I actually published the first version of this. And it's been a great journey so far. And I think the best thing is that we don't have any bug fixes or anything to share. It's actually working, so we don't have to make any big improvements to it. We do have some great plans going forward, but currently I'm super happy with the usage, and we hit all-time high in February as well, even though it was a short month. So happy birthday, Yo Teams.
Awesome. Thank you, Victor. Next up is Microsoft Graph Toolkit, and Seb will handle that for us.
Awesome. Thanks, David. And let me echo Victor. Happy birthday to Yo Teams. It's awesome to see that. A couple of new things. First, we released now 3 weeks ago our 2.3.2 version that includes a lot of accessibility fixes. So if you want to build applications that are very friendly to all your users, take a look at this latest release. You can also expect a release kind of really soon. We are aiming for tomorrow for next release of the Graph Toolkit. What's next after that? Lots of improvements to our providers. We're working with the Teams effects teams to build an MGT-specific provider to be able to leverage MGT as part of your Teams FX projects. Also, lots of MSAL2 and Teams providers. Improvement to ensure that it works on mobile, ensure that it works in every scenario, refresh tokens, all of that, lots of improvements coming up. And also, we are going to align with all the Fluent UI web components to have a really fluent look and feel for all of our components. We need your help. If you want to help fix bugs and help improve or build features, feel free to come to our repo, aka.ms/mgt, and you can grab some good first issues once we need help, or even suggest your own. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Seb. Next up is team samples, and I believe I saw Bob on the call.
Yes, I snuck into the call. I wasn't sure if I could make it. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I couldn't miss this. We've got two really cool new samples, and so I want to highlight those. First, we have a new Teams tab with React routing and Yo Teams. So if you want to celebrate the 5-year anniversary of Yo Teams, and you want to learn about React routing, check out aka.ms/tab-react-router with special thanks to Siddharth and Kunj for working on this and donating this to the repository. And then the other announcement is actually coming from some of my colleagues inside of Microsoft, Jack Lewis and Scott Perham, who are partner architects in the UK, have rewritten the famous HR app. You may have seen this demo before. It's a recruiting app. It shows almost all the Teams extensibility features, and it's in the context of hiring, which I think every company does at some time or another. So it's something that you can show to business people, and then when they ask you to build one, you can go into the code and see how to build it. They did a great job updating this because the one we had before, while it worked, was based on much earlier versions of the SDK. So many thanks to them, and there's the URL for that. And then I just want to throw in another little thanks to Eduardo for updating the Tab SSO sample. It was a small update, but you know what? That's what matters, right? It's keeping these samples fresh and up to date, and I appreciate the updates as much as the new samples, because that's really where we get the quality and the currency of these samples. So thanks, everybody. Please donate samples, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob. And just, I want to echo overall, any updates are always welcome to all of our samples within the community. So that is a fantastic way to get started. Even if it's updating documentation, we welcome that, and we will recognize you for that and celebrate your contribution. Every little bit matters. So don't hesitate to take Bob up on that or any other initiative. Next up is Power Platform samples with April Dunham.
Thank you, David. We have one new sample this week. We have a Dataverse admin app, which is a Canvas application that one of our MVPs, Vivek Vabishi, created. Really cool use case of how you can use Power Apps to help you manage the Power Platform. So it has all of the functionality available in Dataverse to be able to manage your security rules and Dataverse tables and all of that built into this nifty Canvas app. So a really great patterning example here of integrating some of the admin features in an app. Also wanted to remind everyone that we do have a Power Platform contributor sharing is caring session coming up March 8th. So if you haven't contributed yet, you want to learn how, be sure to attend that session. We'll walk you through the steps involved in getting your first contribution out there. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, April. And definitely join that. If you've not seen the cool trick of getting into VS Code within the browser, you're going to get your mind blown in that session. So please join us. We absolutely want to get you more involved. What time is it? Optional picture time. So we'll hand it over to Vesa to show everyone off and take a. Todd is doing his best stretching and
share my screen. Is the hair good? Can you see my watch? What's the saying? Let's wait a while. So you can see the screen most likely. We'll probably get a few more people joining in. I will enable my camera as well. And let's see, one more row. There we go. I guess we're good. So let's do some hand waving. I'm already recording. So thank you, everybody, for joining once again on the community call. It is really keep on saying this, but it's awesome to see the actual faces of people. And hopefully by end of this year, we'll be back in-person conferences. And regardless of that, we will keep on executing this community call. So thank you for being part of us. Thank you. Excellent. I will grab a picture of that and make it a GIF animation. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you, Vesa. And I will reshare here for a moment. And we will move into the demo time for today. We're going to begin with a fantastic demo on the updates around independent publisher connectors and the LibreBor connector demo with Natalie, Marco, and Mario. Let's start with the demo. Mario and Marco, if you'd like to kick that off, and then we'll see if we can finish it out with her slide.
Yeah, no worries. Let's do it. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks for having us. It's a pleasure being here. I love the energy of this call. So I'm going to let Marco talk to you a little bit about what is LibreBor and why did we decided to create the connector, and then I'll do a small demo. Marco, over to you.
Thank you, Mario. So very quickly, LibreBor is essentially open source project that a student started a while back to make the company data available in a nice computer-friendly format so you could search for companies and directors of those companies. This is obviously focusing in Spain. It's built in Spain, where at the moment the government doesn't have an API for this type of data. They only publish it on PDF format. And the founder of this project essentially built a program that scans the PDF files, extracts the information, stores them on a JSON, and makes it available in this nice search engine that you have here. So, for example, if I search for the Microsoft company in Spain, you can see all the details and all the stuff. Now, this is great because there is not that many sources of information for free with all the company's data, and we noticed that there was an API to available for this service. So we approached the founder of this project to see if we could create a connector for Power Platform to use this data on Power Apps, etc., and even in Dynamics and other downstream applications, because it really has lots of value to allow you to validate ID numbers of companies, addresses, etc. So with that in mind, we started working with him. He had already an API definition, a Swagger file. It wasn't 100% compatible. We had to do a few fixes here and there, but Mario can tell you a little bit more about that in a second and show you the connector we will. It was, to be honest, our first experience creating a serious custom connector, and I'm pleased to say that it's much easier than everyone thinks. With a bit of patience and testing and all the tools that are available there, allows you to create really, really powerful connectors to essentially weave together all these APIs into our favorite low-code platform. So, Mario, do you want to show us the demo?
Yeah, no, definitely. So while Marco was telling you about the story of LibreBor, what I was doing is I was showing you a little bit the website, the LibreBor website, and this is effectively the information that we're going to be able to retrieve via our connector. And there are a lot of things that I'll show you down the line. But effectively, all the information that the register, the Spanish register, has for a company. So very simple scenario. Accounts and contacts, we have an application, the onboarding process of a new company, and we want to know as much information as possible from the Spanish register in this case. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create an account. The account, I'm going to just give it the name. And with that, what we're going to do is we're going to launch a search to LibreBor in order to be able to retrieve the data. Thank you, Todd. The data from that company. So we just save the account, and then what we're going to do is we're going to call flow, and I got a flow which is retrieve company details, okay? And I will show you how it works in a second. But now let's hope that I have prayed to the demo gods and that everything is going to be fine. Everything is going to work, I'm sure of that. But we just now trigger the flow, and it's going to go to the API from LibreBor, and it's going to come back with the information it does. There you go. So we do have the account name. So it has found the account and it has updated the account name. It has also provided the NIF. The NIF is the national ID of that specific company within the registry. We then got the purpose, and I know I should have made that field a bit bigger, but we also have the purpose. Also the capital, how much money that company is saying that it has. Of course, the address, and more importantly, it's bringing us the active members. So who are the active partners of that company as they are on the register. Now, another thing that we might want to do with a new account is that in this case we have retrieved the NIF, the number directly from LibreBor, but we might have that information already. And actually, as part of this onboarding process, what we might have is we might need to validate that. So for that, we also have an option in our connector that it allows you to validate that the DNI or the national ID is basically correct. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on that, and then we're going to validate this number that we got over here, which in this case is going to be perfect because we just retrieved it, so it's fine. But then once I trigger that, then it will allow me to go ahead, and now we got the account validated and then move on to the business process flow. And it should have also triggered a notification. Okay, how did I do all this? Well, very simple. Let's have a look at the first one, which is retrieve company details, and then I'll show you how the connector works. In here, I can then choose obviously when a record is selected. I'll make it bigger. Then I can search for a company just using the account name. And what I'm doing here is basically I'm searching the company using the name in order to retrieve the slug. The slug is basically the hard-coded code that I'm going to use in order to retrieve all the other information. I could have retrieved all the other information by name, but it's a bit more tricky. So I get the company name, and then what I do is I get the company information by slug. Once I have all this information, then I go ahead and update the rows. I update, I put the information that I just showed you, and then I look through all the active positions in order to create the contacts. Very simple, really, really easy. Let me show you some of the other actions that we have on LibreBor before I jump into the DNI validation. But over here, you can see that we can find company information by slug, which is the one that I use, by NIF, which is the ID number of that specific company. We can also search for person information of that specific, we can also get person information. So for example, if we search for Amancio Ortega, who is the owner of Inditex, or Sara and Massimo Dutti, we can get information of that person and which companies he's owner of. And the other thing is to validate the NIF, which I'm going to show you in a second. So in order to validate that number, then it's as simple as just providing the number, and it will come back whether it's a valid one or invalid one. How is that validation happening? You might be thinking, why you didn't use a regex expression and that's it? Well, what we're doing is actually going to the register and validating that the NIF that we have in the register is the one that it is correct. So it's not only a validation in terms of it has X numbers or it has one letter, it actually goes to the register and brings back that information. And with that said, this is the end of the demo. Just one thing that Marco forgot to mention, and it's really funny, and it actually shows really the value of what Pablo, the owner of LibreBor, has done, is that Spain were forced at some point to go digital because all this was done in paper. So when Spain had the option, when the government had the option to actually go digital rather than building this API as Pablo did, what they actually did was, I'm not going to go and build a database and put all this information there. What I'm going to do is I'm carry on doing what I have been doing for 400 years, which is publishing everything on paper. But now I'm going to scan it and I'm going to give it to you on a PDF, which is completely mind-blowing.
Yeah, there is a bit of complexity behind that and some economic interest of the company's registry. But yes, it's true. And I don't know if Mario can show out quickly the connector definition there, but the process of building the connector is really simple. Once you have a bit of information about the API and how you define the Swagger, etc., you can just follow the assistance here and test it, validate it. It doesn't really require development knowledge. It helps, or you can also add some custom code and stuff, but it's really a case of understanding a little bit of the API definition. It's super powerful and really a nice way of bringing interconnectivity to all the Power Platform and by extension, Power Automate and all the
Logic apps as well. The other thing that I want to say is a big shout out to Natalie and the team behind the independent publisher connector, because the moment that you finish with your connector, you basically upload it to GitHub and then you receive constant feedback on a daily basis of how your connector is doing, what validations they're doing. And honestly, the process is so simple and they are so on top of you to make sure that you understand where is your connector in the journey. It is actually really good to work with them. And with that said, hoping that Natalie can be back on the call. She can then give us an update on the number of independent publisher connectors that we have.
And I think our mic is open, Natalie.
Great demo, Mario and Marco. But let me try sharing my screen. All right. So there are currently 72 connectors in production, but as also just to even step back, Mario and Marco talked about this a little, right? But the Independent Publisher Connector Program allows anyone to submit a connector to the Power Platform, right? So these connectors show up in Power Automate, Power Apps, and Azure Logic Apps, and soon in more products as well. So we have 37 outstanding publishers today, and all of their names are listed on the right side here. We also wanted to give an update that there is something called the Power Platform Integration Labs call. So this is Learn, Ask, and Build. And we've had one in January and one in February, and we're going to have our next one at the end of this month. And essentially, if you want to get the invite, feel free to ping me, Twitter, LinkedIn, here in the messages. I can send it to you, but that's also the link to join. It's just aka.ms/Power Platform Integration Labs. Essentially, we talk about all integration topics within the Power Platform, whether it's, how to build a trigger for a connector, how to use code for a connector, or anything to do with data flows. Last time, we talked about best practices for submitting connector, as well as upcoming ALM features for custom connectors as well. So it's definitely a great place to join and learn on what the product team is working on. In terms of how many connectors we have in the certification pipeline, we have 42. A lot of new exciting ones have been added. One that I will definitely be using once it's published is Monday.com. That's definitely been super popular PM tool out here. But there's a lot of exciting ones as well. Like we see Emoji Hub and Michael Scott quotes. So there's a lot in play. And of course, as always, Troy is leading in terms of building all these wonderful connectors. He's always going above and beyond to make sure that we have a long list for people to use. But yeah, that's all I had today. So I'm glad that this was able to work out. And I thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Natalie. Mario, Marco, fantastic stuff. It's great to see also that you're reaching out to other entities in the community, not just looking, and if they don't have anything or an open API, you're not just simply abandoning it, but you're actually collaborating with them to be able to create these connectors. So really great job. That's very, very cool. Thank you. Next up is Dennis on migrating cloud flows using Flow and Apps Migrator. Dennis, take it away.
Thanks, David. Today I'm going to show you a tool called Flows and Power Apps Migrator. It's a tool that helps you migrate cloud flows and Canvas apps across sites or even Microsoft 365 tenants. My name is Denis Molodsev. My expertise is everything SharePoint, but in the last few years I was also working a lot with the Power Platform. So let's start with showing an example. You have a large flow, a cloud flow that uses a SharePoint connector. It's connected to a specific source site, and it also uses some dependencies, SharePoint lists and libraries. Now, if I export this, then import it to a new tenant, you'll see that I need to do some manual manipulations. For example, I need to reestablish the connection, and then I will have to fix the site address. The site address can be fixed manually like this. And then I would then realize that the list is missing, which is a dependency. It's usually not a problem if your flow is relatively simple or small, but imagine you have a large flow, or even better, you have multiple flows to migrate. And even worse, you can do it frequently, let's say every day, once you go from dev to staging to production, for example. So let me show you how the Flow and Power Apps Migrator tool solves this. So I'm gonna already have it downloaded. So I'm gonna run the migrate packages batch file. When I run it, it'll first ask me to specify a source site and then a destination site. I'm gonna specify a source one first and then a destination site. By the way, before doing this, I am supposed to place the exported flow or app here. It could be multiple flows or apps. I should place it in the source folder. Once that's done and I run the tool, it'll first ask me to log into the original tenant, which I'm gonna do. Then it should ask me which dependencies I need to bring over. So in my case, I'm interested in 2 lists. So in a destination tenant, I'm missing budget and issues that need to move over here. So I'm going to select them, budget and issues. And a few moments later, using the power of the PowerShell PnP tool, the Flow Migrator is exporting dependencies, including customized forms using JSON and even content types if they are present in the list or lists. Then once that's done, the next step is to connect to the target tenant. And as you might guess, the next step would be to import dependencies. So first, all SharePoint lists and libraries will be created on a target tenant. It should usually take a few seconds. And once that's done, the dist folder will be automatically opened. This folder now contains a converted version of a package. So this converted package has an advantage. So when I import it, you'll see in a few moments that it won't ask me to manually correct SharePoint dependencies like lists, libraries, views. All of it will be automatically converted. Just give it a few moments. All right, so let me open the flow. When I open it, so voila, I don't need to correct any dependencies. The site address, the list names are all corrected automatically. Behind the scenes, this dependency was created. Let me prove that it was moved over. So these 2 dependencies were automatically migrated. If you want to migrate multiple flows, you simply export all of them, put to the source folder, and then just go over the same steps you've just seen. Also, this tool migrates Canvas apps and even solutions. You might have large solutions that you are preparing for your clients, for example, that might have hundreds of pages guidelines, deployment guides. To avoid that, you can use the same tool. One of the cool things that you can do with this tool is to prepare packages for your clients or partners. So there is a script called prepare deployment package for clients. So if you run it, it'll package your solution as part of a folder that you can hand over to the client. The client on their side simply need to convert packages. They need to click convert packages batch script, and that will complete the installation on their part, which is very useful. That actually could be probably done for something like CUE starter kit, which is not that easy to deploy. So the tool can be found under this URL. And if you want to use it, just simply download the latest release. There is a number of limitations and features that you might be interested in. You can check what's migrated, like Canvas apps, standalone cloud flows, solutions, lists, libraries. If you customize your lists with custom forms using JSON formatting, that's also migrated. This solution doesn't migrate data. Content types are migrated. Lookup fields are unfortunately not migrated. Right, and you cannot migrate anything that's spans across multiple sites. So the limitation is that all of your SharePoint dependencies need to stay in one site. All right, so that concludes it.
Very, very cool, Dennis. Thank you for sharing that. Really, I'm sure is going to save a lot of people a lot of time. And you know, all the little amount of time we save adds up, allows us to go do bigger and better and cooler things. So thank you for creating this, and also thank you for sharing it with the community. Really fantastic stuff.
Thank you, David.
All right, next up is Zhao on creating a to-do list for Microsoft Lists and SharePoint using view formatting. Zhao, the stage is yours.
All right, thank you. Let me share my screen. Hello, everyone. My name is Zhao. I'm a Microsoft VP at Busy, and today I will show you how you can use the power of Microsoft Lists and list formatting to create to-do list in Microsoft Lists that looks like Microsoft To Do. So for those of you that are familiar with Microsoft To Do, here is a brief explanation of To Do is a simple task list that allows you to define tasks, complete them, set due dates, add categories to them, attachments, and mark them as favorites. Super simple application, but super useful. And this image has a representation of a to-do list in Microsoft To Do with a couple tasks. And in this side, what I have is the final format that I will be demoing here today. The same functionality that exists in To Do, but now in Microsoft Lists, taking advantage of all the built-in features and also a custom formatting that mixes JSON and HTML and CSS into around 500 lines of JSON to create this over here. So before we start looking into the code and what is being done under the hood, let's first look to the first that I identified want to bring to a Microsoft List. So the first thing to keep is the title, obviously the description, due dates, categories. The status is the option that allows you to mark it as completed. Attached files, information about the create and updated, and here it includes not only the date, but also the user who created the task and the user who last updated the task. Mark it as important to move it up into the list. And finally, an option to delete the task. All these options are available in Microsoft To Do, and the goal was to provide them as well in a similar interface in Microsoft Lists. So the list definition, it's quite simple. Not all the features that were highlighted in the previous slide need a dedicated column. Some of them already existed by default. Others, I had to create them manually. So the title is the default title that exists by default when you first create a list. Then there's a description column that allows you to define the description for the task itself, defined as multi-line of text, categories that are a choice field. There's no requirement here. You will be able to define whatever categories you want to. a due date that it's used to do comparisons between the due date of the task and the current date to display them with different colors, and 2 yes and no fields, one to mark it as important and another one to complete the task. The last one here is a calculated column that returns a single line of text, and I use this to create a mask for the due date that is exactly the same one that Microsoft To Do uses. So if I go back here, as you can see, this one that says overdue displays the date exactly in the same format, and to display it, I'm using then this date column. So for all the comparisons that are done in the formatting, I use the due date. Then to display them, I use the date column that is calculated automatically. So once you create the list following these instructions, you will end up with something like this. Still far, far away from a to-do list. Well, it works. You will be able to add your tasks, but the interface is not the same that exists in to-do list. So in Microsoft To Do, so we will continue to work on the lists to create the same. So the next step with the list, and this will allow you to sort the items by favorite followed by due date. So it means that if you click in the start to favorite the item, it will be moved to the top and then order by due dates, and then group them by status so you can easily see your to-do tasks and the ones that were completed already. So once you create the view, things get a bit better. Now you can see clearly what was done and what was not, but it's not yet the Microsoft To Do. The groups display the name of the column with yes and no, that is the technical value that is stored in the list, and you still have the view that displays the default layout for Microsoft Lists. So the next thing to do is to add the formatting. I will not go through the 500 lines of code in this session, but I will highlight what I think are the main components of this formatting. So here on the right, what you see is all the main components that were formatted in the JSON, and I will go briefly through each one of them. So for the groups, I use the group properties. And a couple things that are important to highlight here. So the color that you see, it is not is using the same that are applied to the site or to lists. And this is good to get consistent branding in this list if you use it in a SharePoint page. So depending on the theme that it's applied to SharePoint, this will then be formatted according to the theme you get applied. And if you remember in the previous slide, the group was saying status yes, no. Now it says completed, followed by the number of items. The number of items, it's not displayed in this part of the code here, but there's a comparison checking if the value is yes, then print the complete, otherwise print to do, and then it's followed by the number of items that exist in each group. Then for the status, it is represented by this icon, and in here it's a bit similar to what Microsoft Lists has by default for you to select the item, but there's an action attached to this particular element. So when the user clicks on it, this custom row action sets the value to true or false and moves it to the right group immediately after clicking. And also it changes the icon. So this one will that it's complete, otherwise it's just an empty circle. Moving forward, the title here, it's super simple. It's just printing whatever is stored in that column for the item, and then the date where things get a bit more complex. As you can see here, we have different formattings applied depending if the task is overdue and not completed, if it is today, or if we still have time to accomplish that. It changes the font weight, it changes the way the date is displayed, and also the color, and all of that is done through the comparisons that are made here to display the colors and to display the text. So As I mentioned, there are two date columns, one to do the comparisons, another one to print the date here. And that's exactly what you see here. So if the due date it's equals to today's date, then it prints today. Otherwise, it prints due followed by the, or overdue followed by the date that it's stored in the calculated column. For notes, tags, and attachments, these three options that are here after the date. The first two, the number 5 and number 6, only display information. One tells the user that this item has a description. The second one tells the user what is the category or tag that it's applied to the item. And the last one informs the user that there's an attachment to, or multiple attachments to the item, but when the user clicks on this icon, it will open the default icon pane from where the user will be able to interact and get and download the attachments, and that is done with a custom row action. But instead of using the set value here, we have the default click. Moving forward to comments and favorites, similar thing happens here on this side, and one sets the value to true or false, moving it up or down into the order in the list. The other one, similar to what this one does, opens the item page so the user can see and read the comments or create new comments. The comments are not accessible through the formatting, but the number of comments that exist in the item are. So here what we have is a different icon that this one represents that there are comments available in this item. This one means that there are no comments for this item. For number 10, 11, 12, and 13, we have this area here at the bottom. This is made with custom card properties. It only shows when the user hovers the item, and what this has is the full detail for each item, and these 4 elements here, the title, the description, the due date, and the category, all of them were defined with a custom row action to set a value. It means that even without going to the item detail, the user will be able to modify the items directly from lists or from a SharePoint page if you have this as a web part. At the bottom, we have the information about who was the creator of the item and the time, and same thing for who was the last one updating it and the time. The last option, the number 13, is the delete button. And again, this action, but this time it has the delete value. So to see all of this in action, let me just bring here this share page where I have the same formatting applied already. And as you can see, the colors changed from what I was demoing in the PowerPoint, because this is now in SharePoint with the teal color. And if I start to move around and if I start to click in the elements, I'm able to, for example, change the category from yellow to blue, and it reacts and it shows the value that it's in the list in this formatting. And if I complete this task, it gets moved to the bottom, still able to collapse the groups and do pretty much everything that I would do in the list directly with the classic formatting. So back here to the list, if you want to like this, you don't know anything about the formatting, this will be soon in the GitHub repo. Once you get the formatting, the only is clicking the view, so to the format current view and paste here the JSON. If you have different names for the columns, you may need to adjust the names of the columns here in the formatting, but other than that, it's plug and play and you will get formatting applied to your lists. So before we wrap this up, I don't have it yet available in the GitHub repo. I will try to make the PR still today, but for now, what you can do to get the code is go to blog handsonlists.net, for this post, there are actually 3 articles that explain in detail each one of the things that I show here. And as a bonus, you will also get a script that allows you to install the to-do list already with the formatting in place as a template for your organization, so other users can take advantage of it and can easily replicate this to-do list in other scenarios. So other than this, wait for the sample to appear in the PnP GitHub. And if you have questions about the formatting or want to get some more information, you can reach me through Twitter. The Twitter handler is here and the blog link is here. And this concludes my demo. David, back to you.
Zhao, really awesome. I mean, this is incredible. A shout out from Chris in the comments. And so I think the warrior horses are all going crazy in their stables right now in celebration. Very cool what we were able to create with this low code opportunity. So thank you so much for sharing this. And again, as Zhao mentioned, it's not yet in the repository for list formatting, but we're working on that. So it'll be in there soon. So take a look for that very, very soon. And we'll tweet that out as well. Again, a huge thank you to our rock star presenters today, Natalie, Marco, Mario, Dennis, and Zhao. Thank you so much for sharing with the community all this amazing stuff that you have generated and willing to share as well. A lot of hard work in all these things, and so thank you. The recording of this will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel, aka.ms/M365PnP videos. You can always subscribe to this so that you'll get in your email box an update when new videos are released. That's the best way possible to stay up to date. You can also follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev or at Microsoft 365 PnP or both. Highly recommend that. Interact with the community and take advantage of everything that's available for you. The next general dev call, March 17th at 7 a.m. So same bat time, same bat channel as you're on right now. The next Viva Connections and SharePoint framework call will be 1 week from today, March 10th at 7 a.m. You can get all of the invites at aka.ms/M365 and also see the other amazing community calls that are available. As mentioned, the platform call URL here, aka.ms/M365-dev-call will give you the invite for that so you can get it on your calendar. And there's also the adaptive cards, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins, and Power Apps community calls. So you can use all those URLs there to get access and get them on your calendar. And then, of course, our 2 bi-weekly community calls, Microsoft 365 Community, which you're on right now, and the Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework, all of which are available at aka.ms/M365PnP. Thank you, everyone, for making this such a fantastic community, the collaborative chat, and your encouragement and interaction. We are one big community, and we appreciate everything that everyone brings. So let's get more resources together. Let's collaborate, and let's work together on amazing stuff. Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful weekend.